Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Welcome to another tutorial. On this one, we're going to work on UV unwrapping the ship. The ship is a three-dimensional object, right? So we're going to basically flatten out the surface of this ship into a 2D image so that we can apply images and textures and colors to it. So a very basic example of that is what I have here. If I just open up Blender and I come over to UV editing and I have my cube selected, what you'll see is that it makes this sort of cross thing. This is if I have on this button here UV sync selection. If I select a face here, the corresponding face will appear on the cube. So you see that this face here corresponds to this. So if I apply a material, let's say a wood material to this cube, the veins of the wood pass through this edge here, which corresponds to this edge over here. What you'll notice is that they will continue. I'm actually going to apply a wood material to this cube for you to see. You don't need to know how to do that to follow this tutorial right now. I'm just going to show you how it looks like. As you can see, if I come over to UV editing and I turn on texture, you'll see I have the roughness map here for some reason. Do I need to have it? That's the base color. Yeah, I need to have it selected. And as you can see, this 2D, I can just grab this individual face. If I move it around, you'll see that it moves around. And if you look over here, I'm just going to rotate everything in 90 degrees because it's going to make my life a bit easier. But if you see over here, like on this wood stain, it is a continuation. It continues on from here all the way to here. All right, so these wood grains over here and these wood marks, they continue their path from here to here. So this is basically the function of UV unwrap. I'm just going to load up a monkey head here. If I hit tab, every single object in Blender already comes with its own UV map. When I have an object here, in this case I have my monkey head in the viewport in the layout, I am in object mode. If I come over to UV editing, that changes to edit mode. I can toggle between them by hitting tab, by the way. And the basic rules also apply. Alright, so if I have A selects everything, Alt A deselects everything. I am selecting with the right mouse button because that's how I do things, but if you want to select in a way that makes sense, great. If you look at these elements over here, I have these vertices, they're connected by edges, and they form faces, okay? So these are my selection modes. Because I'm on a laptop that doesn't have a numeric keypad, I can't use that, but in a normal computer, if I press 1 without being on the numpad, just on the regular keyboard, if I press 1, it toggles vertex select mode, 2, edge select mode, 3, face select mode, but I can't do that. Selecting, of course, hitting shift, I'll select multiple vertices or multiple edges or multiple faces. If you take a look here around Suzanne's face, this monkey is called Suzanne. If I hit Alt and click, I will select this entire loop. If you realize, over here, I'm just going to do the annotation, this edge over here flows continuously. It is always parallel to everything that's behind it. The same thing over here. Look that I have here a loop of faces and they're all facing each other like this. So if I come over here to face select mode, hit Alt, I'll select this face loop. If I select one vertex and I press Ctrl plus, I'll increase the selection. That's not really useful for what we're doing, but okay. And this is my favorite. Let's say that I want to select from here all the way to here, but I don't want to select. If I just do this, then of course it's going to select everything all the way up to her nose. And that's no good. That's not what I want. So the way to go about that is I'll select here and Control click here. You gotta be careful because this is going to choose the shortest path. So in this case, the shortest path wasn't what we wanted. So I just kind of have to babysit it a little bit, but I selected it with 3 clicks instead of, however, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that would take normally, and that's much faster. So these are the tools, the techniques that we're going to use for selecting the edges when we're UV unwrapping. As of the version 2.9, all these tricks, so you'll see here I have a selection called pick shortest path, which is what I'm doing with Control, select edge loop, and shift. All of these will work here. I also have vertex select mode, edge select mode, I'm selecting edges, face select mode, And I never use this one. This is for selecting these entire islands, as they're called. So I'm not gonna save this, and I'm just gonna load in our ship. And I'm just gonna hit Shift H, alright? I want everything but the ship to disappear. And I'm gonna come over to UV editing. Now, you'll notice that the ship model, when I come to UV editing, it already has some of these red lines, and these are UV seams. These are where you place the cuts for the 3D models. You'll also notice that this object is mirrored. So if I just grab this over here, it moves over there. And we don't want that, because then if I have a stain here, it's going to mirror perfectly. And I don't want the texture to be perfectly symmetrical. This is good for modeling, but for texturing, it is going to cause a couple of problems. So I'm just going to come right over here to the modifiers. You'll see, you probably don't have this. You don't need to worry about it. This is an add-on. This is extra functionality. I have two modifiers applied to this ship. If I come over here to the modifier properties, the mirror and the edge split. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit over here on the mirror, I'm going to hit apply. So now, if you'll see, the ship is no longer mirrored, obviously. I'm going to get rid of this edge split modifier, and the ship kind of looks dumb now. It kind of looks lame. The way to fix that is just come over here to object data properties, and under normals, you turn on auto smooth. And if you set this threshold to 30, it does basically the same thing without it being in a modifier over here, which is a preferable way to work. So if I come over here to edit mode, and I hit A, you can see that the UV is already disorganized. What I'm gonna do is just hit A, UV pack islands, and what that does is just organizes the islands for me, and it shows me something. I have a lot of these floating around. If you see, all this area right here doesn't really have a UV yet. The wings do, and they're working okay. But these areas here don't really have a UV. They're not working okay. This isn't good. I'm gonna have to redo these parts, but I'm gonna focus on them later. Okay, so I'm just gonna hit Shift H, and I'm going to work on these because these are the most needed parts. Flip back so that I have sync selection mode. These objects here, they already have, if I just come over on one, I'll just select these objects right over here. I'm just hitting L, then I select all the linked faces. I'll do it on both sides because I don't have the mirroring anymore. You can UV unwrap with the mirror and then remove it. That's fine as well, but I'd prefer to just UV unwrap it as is. Now I've selected everything, and because they already have the seams marked, I'm just going to hit U, unwrap. There you go, they're unwrapped. I can just hit H and hide them. I've made a mistake because I forgot to select these faces right over here, and they'll show. That's a normal thing. It happens. I'm just hit U, unwrap, and hide them. That's fine. They're gone. And for this main body, I'm just going to do the same. I'm just going to hit U, unwrap. I still have a couple of things over here that aren't properly unwrapped, but now what I can do is just hover over something here on the UV map, press L, and it'll highlight over here. So I'm just going to, like this, for instance, this corresponds to this, and this is pretty okay. So I'm just gonna hide it. For this guy right here, I have these parts here. They're pretty okay. I'm just gonna hide them as well. For the main body of the ship, I still have more work to do. I'm just gonna hit Shift H to hide everything but this. And what I'm gonna do now is just add a few more cuts right around this edge over here. I'm just going to go around selecting it and just hit Ctrl E and mark seam. It didn't mark a seam over here for some reason, so I'm just gonna do that. And I'm gonna choose this edge right over here to cut it. I need to have one edge over here that's cut in. Over here, I'm just gonna select these edges like these, like this, mark seam. I'm just gonna mark seam over here as well, and I'm gonna unwrap and see how it looks. That's okay. I mean, this part here, I could go ahead and go the extra mile of just cutting and open it up, but this area over here, I am actually going to go ahead and separate out. So this main area, who are you? Oh, you're you. Just move them over here. So now I have this, and it's less janky. I have some other areas of jank right around here that I'm gonna work on fixing, especially these little guys. I can just select them over here, and if I hit View Select, you'll see they correspond to this. So I'm just gonna select them. They are easier to select on the UV map, so I'm just gonna do that. The same commands work basically for selection over here and over there. If you're using an older version of Blender, they might not, but in a newer version, they do. I'm just gonna go ahead and select all of these edges, and I'm basically defining how I'm going to cut these parts out. Alright, so just right over here, I'm just gonna do this cut. So I'm just gonna hit Ctrl E, mark seam, and unwrap. Now I have them just here neatly separated. This area over here is also looking weird. Looks like I have some faces that are on top of each other. So if I come over here and hit View Selected, what is this face? It's just too much stretch. I'm gonna fix that in a minute. But over here, the main issue is this body over here never works. I'm just gonna separate out this part. I'm just gonna cut it over here, and it opens up. I'm gonna use this line right here in the bottom. We're not gonna see the bottom of the ship when you think about it. So it's fine if I just add a cut right over here, and I just try to use it to sort of spaghetti open the ship, if you will. This area right here is to hitting control. I'm just gonna select this area over here all the way to here, and I'm gonna unwrap it, and you can see it's just opening it up a little bit better. I still have some tension over here. Let me take a look. Yeah, this is the back part of the ship. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. This is gonna be kind of okay. And I can just do a cut over here and separate it out. Maybe organize it a little bit further. Then I can have some, because over here, how does this look? This looks okay. But over here, I can just have some cuts coming over here, because this is kind of a sharp angle anyway, and that just sort of opens it up and makes it a bit better. It's okay. I'm not gonna worry about things like this, because it's not a big deal. I'm going to give it a cut all the way from here to here and open it up. So this is basically how I would do this part of the ship. It is totally okay if you do it a little bit differently. Alright, so there's clearly no point in you seeing me do the same thing over and over again, so I'm just going to speed up through the next part of the UV unwrapping process just so that you can have a general idea of how I go about doing this kind of thing. I'm not going to go into specifics because it's basically the same technique over and over again. Alright, see ya. So this is how I would UV unwrap this ship. Now that I have this big mess over here, I'm just going to come over to UV, average island scale, and now I am going to pack islands. What average island scale does is it makes the scale of the ship coherent to what I have over here. Now I have a UV map on my ship that I can use to texture it, which is going to be the next few tutorials that we're going to make. So that was kind of an erratic tutorial. Sorry about that. I see you guys in the next video.